Hey decorators, I'm AJ, this is Kirk with Heat Transfer Warehouse. Today we're going to talk to you about some tips and tricks direct from Siser about their family of products, so stick around. The first tip we're going to talk about today is going to be your garment choice and garment prep. Can you tell us a little bit about that, Kirk?
So when you're picking the garment, obviously when you're going online, make sure you read all the instructions about how that garment will obviously handle heat. That is key. Next part is obviously getting that garment ready before you can press on your heat transfer vinyl. So a lot of times we do a pre-press, and what that does is gets the moisture out, but also it can get the wrinkles out because a smooth surface is way better for heat transfer vinyl.
Kirk, you talked about the pre-pressing. Are all garments needed to be pre-pressed?
No, and in some cases obviously you're going to use some heat sensitive fabrics. You can still press on them, but you don't want to do a pre-press because you could damage them. So like nylon, even some polyesters, maybe even a leather, you could have some issues. So we don't pre-press, and you want to be very careful with that stuff.
The second tip we're going to talk to you guys about today is going to be the application process. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
So start off with 3 main points, which is time, temperature, and pressure. When you're doing those with the garments, if you drop any one of those, obviously you can have your vinyl fall off the garment. So it's really key to have a good heat press, to have those dialed in, and also if you have a heat press with a pressure gauge, that also helps make sure you dial in that pressure.
So is there any other times that we would need to worry about, pressure being too high or too low or anything like that?
One case, if you have pressure too high, you can cause the adhesive to ooze from underneath the vinyl, which means it's not adhering the vinyl to the garment, it's actually oozing out and can burn. The other time, if it's too less, you're obviously not activating that pressure and properly heating it correctly, and it won't have time to activate.
So I'm guessing that accounts for time as well, if you're not using enough time or not, too less time, anything like that?
Correct. If you have time and you drop your heat, you need more time to make sure that adhesive is setting correctly. That is so key, so you have a proper application and it doesn't drop off the garment and you have a happy customer.
Cool. So now we're going to talk to you about tip number 3, and that comes to layering heat transfer vinyls. So Kirk, what are some different things we need to take into consideration when layering?
When layering, obviously, tagging is preferred. So the less time you have that first layer down, the better. So the cool part with the EasyWeed family is you can start off with that first layer, in the second layer, any of those, with a 1-second tack. So if you're doing multiple layers, that first layer goes down for 1 second, bam. Now we go to the second layer, you can do another 1 second. Let's say we're doing the third layer, that's where you do the full time and temp. So you only have 10 to 20 seconds max on those vinyls. If it's too much time, you can start to dry out those heat transfer vinyls, and we don't want that. So key is those tacks. 1 second with the EasyWeed family, and bam, you're rocking.
So now we're on to our 4th tip of the day, mixing different types of materials. So we're talking glitter and standard EasyWeed. What are some things that we have to take into account when we're doing this?
Number 1 is go back and look at your application instructions. Look at those temperatures. And as you have different temperature ranges, that's where you have to make sure that you start with the lowest temperature. Start with that first, but also start with the thinnest product if you can first. Then you work out your way up to the thicker products. And you should be very successful with that, so that way you're not burning any of the products that have a higher temp or a lower temp. You want to make sure you're not burning them out.
Do we have to worry about if any products can layer on top or be a base layer or anything like that?
Absolutely. Some products just don't layer. And so with the Siser glitter, you can run into issues where layering is not preferred. So if you layer glitter on top of glitter, not going to work. So that's where you would do an inlay. Again, still the 1 second tack, then go ahead and do your thicker product last.
Now we're finally on to tip number 5. We've learned all about applying different heat transfer films, but what about the heat sensitive products? Siser has a lot of information on this. So Kirk, can you give us a little rundown on heat sensitive products?
So heat sensitive products, obviously, you're gonna have those coming through the door. People are gonna ask you to press on, you just don't know what. So the key is obviously looking up what the fabric is, which it could be like a leather, could be a nylon, or it could be like a certain polyester blended differently. Looking up what they can handle for heat, but also don't fear the EasyWeed family and the Siser products obviously can go lower temperatures. And so you think, well, now I'm going to lower temperature, which is like 270 degrees to 290 degrees. I got to make up for that temp with a longer press time. So in that case, you may press up to 20 seconds, which is unusual for the EasyWeed family, except when you're lowering the heat. You're going to go that longer time. Also, you're tacking, probably around 5 seconds this time, so you make sure you get a good tack with a lower heat. But you can still do it, and it's very capable. Do not be afraid to try it. In closing on these 5 tips and tricks, remember time, temperature, and pressure. Always look up your application instructions and study your garments before committing to pressing. Obviously, no two vinyls are the same, so always keep that in mind. And where do we get the Siser EasyWeed family, AJ?
You can get all this product we've talked about and information by going to heattransferwarehouse.com. After you're done watching this video, give us the thumbs up, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and click that bell to get notifications when we have new videos. We want to thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.